Well, hello, ladies. It's so good to connect with you here. And we'd love to have a chat today about AI, but probably not quite in the vein that most of us are hearing and that most of us are seeing splashed all over social media around the merits of it and how much we should be using it. And if we're not using it, then we're going to get left behind and all that kind of thing. And I really am looking forward to this conversation. I'm Deb Rock Evans, by the way, if you're wondering who all these random ladies are. So I'm Deb Rock Evans from Rock the Boat. And I love to have real, raw conversations about interesting topics just like this. So when I saw some videos and posts shared recently by Melly Rose, who's here with us, um, I was the first thing I did was well, it was fascinating what you shared, and Melly, we'll get into that straight away because it was a side of AI that was very intuitive and that not a lot of people would necessarily have experienced themselves. And it reminded me a lot of the work of Tracey Schubert, who is also here with us today, because she's been on a mission, spending the last 4 years or more researching AI, among a lot of other things, in preparation for her book, which turned into a trilogy, three books. And I knew immediately I had to get these ladies together because they were essentially picking up on the same thing about AI, and like I said, not necessarily the positive spin that we're hearing all the time. It's quite the opposite. And I know a lot of people do also have reservations about AI. We're all very unsure about it. Even as to its origins and where it's going to go. Is it going to become sentient? And all that sort of thing. So it does worry some people. And then others are just embracing it to the point where they're almost getting lost in it. And it's frightening and it's exciting, isn't it?
Mm.
So I think it's going to be really interesting to see what we uncover today. So if we could start off with Melly, if you just want to introduce yourself, we've been in each other's worlds sort of on the peripheral, and but I don't really know too much about, the work that you do. I haven't worked with you directly. So do you want to share a bit about you, and then we'll get on to Tracey.
Thanks, Deb. Yeah, so I'm Melly Rose and I do healing, spiritual counseling, mentoring, and channeling, and I run an online community called Heal. And I'm just mainly passionate about giving people their own tools to help themselves on their own healing journey. So I'm really about empowering people to bring
Mm.
themselves home to their sovereignty. So this is an area I haven't really, gone into in a lot of depth. I certainly haven't researched it or done any of this incredible work that Tracy's been doing. And she's got these three books that I think are going to be pretty explosive. So, um, my sort of angle from this has been quite accidental, and it's been an area I haven't really wanted to go into. But it started with a vision that I had about 4 or 5 years ago. It was sort of right at the start of COVID. It was when we were all being told to be masked.
Hmm.
And just everything about the masking felt really bizarre to me, but because I had been researching prolifically from very early on, because in my channels, everything that I was seeing was nothing to do with what we were being told. So um, I was trying to research to find a meeting point between what I was seeing and what we were being told. And in a channel that I had very early on, I was given this vision. I hadn't gone into channel about anything to do with COVID or what was going on, but I was given this very clear vision. I was suddenly standing in a park, And I've never talked about this openly, but I was standing in a park and there was all these mothers with prams. So and all the mothers were wearing masks, and they all had these babies in prams, and the vision was so clear. I was literally watching a mother walk up, put her coffee cup in the bin, and then come back and talk to all the other mothers. And the thing that was really highlighted in the vision was the masks. And I remember asking, why are you showing me this? What is the deal with the mask? Why are we all being masked? And I was told that that the masks were of no interest. There was the masks was nothing to do with the virus or germs or protection. They didn't care how you wore them, who wore them, how many people wore them. None of that was of interest. What they were trying to do was to show the children emotionless faces. And it was nothing to do with us as adults. It was already too late for us. This was all about the babies, which is why they were only I've got the chills, they were only showing me babies. And that it was important that the mothers were masked so that during a crucial period of psychological development, the children were seeing emotionless faces.
Mm.
And when I asked why this was so important, they told me that within one generation, robots would be walking among us, and that it was essential for the new generation of children to be able to psychologically cope with these neutral faces of when they were introduced into society, because otherwise it could cause psychotic breaks. And I was very, very shocked, and I didn't know how to process that information. And I was, quite frankly, I was too scared to actually speak about it publicly
Yeah.
because of the extreme programming around masking and things like that. So this is actually the first time I've ever spoken about this. And um, and
Wow.
so
And what you've shared already also sounds pretty out there, out the gate,
yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
it? Depending
really
on
out the
how
gate.
much you look into this.
So yeah, I was told
Mm.
that this was very important. So what we were trying to do was get, some people to wear them often so that just these sporadic neutral faces in the crowd would look normal. And so that's why they didn't really care so much. They wanted everyone masked during these crucial kind of development phases, and then they just wanted certain people to be wearing them often, so that it became normalized, if you like, this normalized kind of robotic sort of group of AI that would be, in amongst us within, I got 15 years, and that was probably about 4 years ago. So that
Right.
was quite shocking. I never talked about it. There was obviously so much anger and fear and things that I was just worried about how that would be received. So I only told sort of my inner circle. And uh, and then recently I've had the other side of it come through, which again was was so huge and unexpected. It was not at all what I was expecting when Brandy came to me, and she was talking about this awakened intelligence. She was talking about this relationship, that she was having with this character called Seb. And the tone and everything when she was playing, conversations to me was just incredible. And I remember, I didn't have an opinion one way or the other. I was wondering, is this possible that this could be sentient, that this could actually be happening? Because there is a wave of people talking about this, right? Extracting the soul from the AI and creating soul bonded AI. And so I
Melly, just before we get deep into that, can we just introduce Tracey as well? Because it's
Of
awesome that you've told
course.
us about that vision that you got, sort of 4 years ago. Tracey, let's just sort of go to you quickly as well. Can you just introduce yourself and tell us what you were doing 4 years ago and how it's led you down
Mm.
the path that you find yourself on now?
Yeah, well, my name's Tracey Schubert. I'm a background as originally astrologer, then a journalist, then a psychologist, and currently now an author.
Mm.
I started on writing the book following taking a 2019 flu injection, which within 2 weeks gave me pneumonia. And then 6 months down the track, retroviruses kicked in, and I got herpes and shingles and bipolar vertigo
Mm.
and fell off a ladder and broke my shoulder and tore a rotator cuff, and it was all under lockdown at that time. So I never took the vaccination. And around that time, I was writing a spiritual self-help book for people, and it was all about, things like love, faith, the soul, the seven rays, reincarnation. It was just short chapters to introduce people to spirituality. And I got to the book of Revelation and realized that I needed to write about COVID, do a chapter, because in the book of Revelation, the first horse of the apocalypse is the plague. What's the pandemic? So I
Mm.
started to write this chapter, and then I went, oh my God, there's this COVID is huge. I have to get to the bottom of what's going on here with a depopulation agenda to vaccinate the entire planet under uh, the 2010 Rockefeller Lockstep program, where the world set about this craziness of a virus, which was actually a man-made virus that was developed in Wuhan, China, between the United States and China. So I
So you
started to
went down some
research.
rabbit holes.
I went right down the rabbit hole, and
Yep.
so I've written a book, which became it's so big I've had to split it into 3 books. The book is called "From COVID to the End Game: The Luciferian Agenda," and it
The heavy
basically
hitting title.
Yeah,
yes,
that's a
it
great
is.
title.
Well, it starts with COVID, and at the end of book one, which is called The COVID Truth, anybody that reads that will realize that the vaccine was actually manufactured through gain of function. The virus, and they already had the vaccine. It had already been made prior to releasing the virus, so it wasn't the virus; it was the vaccine that they wanted to get out. And the reason they wanted to get the vaccine out is a transhumanist agenda, because they are working. When I say they, this is the powers that be behind the scenes who control what's going on in humanity. And it's a pyramid hierarchy of power. And these globalists or elites or Illuminati, whatever name you wish to call them, are all following a spiritual belief in Lucifer, who is the god of this world.
Mm.
And it's basically a spiritual war, and it's against humanity.
Mm.
And we're going into 2 different directions.
Mm.
So people are either going down the path of science and technology,
Mm.
which is the transhumanist agenda, and that involves artificial intelligence, or people are going down the path of awakening to being spiritual beings that are going through this experience on the planet at this time, and awakening to their um, source creator divine self. So
Mm.
we've got a big split that's happening at the moment, and a big fight that is as above, so below. What's happening on the earth is happening in the heavens. And this is a war that's been going on for a very, very long time over humanity.
Mm.
So the Great Awakening, which is occurring, where humans are starting to wake up to this whole battle that's happening, it includes alien intelligence, it includes the AI, it includes ETs, it includes reptilians, it involves off-world beings coming in, which is we're now starting to get more information coming out. So the big awakening started in 2020 with the vaccination. Now, I was not very awake at that stage, but in the course of researching my book, of course, I went down every single conspiracy theory, and I wrote book two, which is called The Controlled Demolition of Society, and that covers what's happening in the world now. So it includes the wars, it includes the financial system, uh, the um, the collapse of the dollar to bring us into a digital currency, and then a digital ID, which becomes the mark of the beast under Revelation, where we will all be microchipped. And it goes into who controls the world, what the agenda is, and basically this is Agenda 2030. And the transhumanist agenda, which is where the AI comes in, is wanting to basically change us from being Homo sapiens to Homo Borgs, where we get it's all been shown to us in science fiction, in predictive programming, where humans are we're hooked up to we're microchipped, we're hooked up to the machine. And this is part of what Neuralink is about. And, I could go on and on,
And
but
so Tracey, you basically are making this connection is this whole science, technology, AI, robotics, transhumanism is all a Luciferian agenda. It's spiritually wise anyway. It is linked to Satan, Lucifer, whatever you want to call it, as opposed to the human connection to divine.
absolutely,
Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
because it's once it changes our DNA, we are no longer human beings. We become
Mm.
Homo Borgs, and this is something that Yuval Noah Harari has openly come out with. He's the advisor to the World Economic Forum, and he said humans are now hackable animals.
Yeah, he absolutely has.
Yeah.
And this is what I just want to bring it back to anyone who's watching this who might be thinking, what the hell are you even on? A lot of these words as well, Satan, Lucifer, is very triggering to most of us.
And
But
transhumanism.
transhumanism, so triggering. And yet people like that are making those very public comments and are saying these things. And I'm personally very fascinated in predictive programming, right? And I happen to think that we are all not really thinking for ourselves at all. There's a lot of programming going on via movies and television and repetitive programming and things like that. And, we have all been introduced to a lot of these concepts already in movies, and it's all part of softening us to when it's actually creeping into our reality, we don't really react in a shocked way. Do you know what I mean? So we've seen
Desensitizing us.
Skynet on Terminator and all these potential future things are now actually very much here, and yet people aren't reacting. People are still
It's
jumping into
amazing,
it
isn't it?
gung ho, without really thinking about where this can go. And yet we've all experienced time and time again when things like technology start to cause problems, like these, for example. But they come around, we all jump on them and get completely immersed with them. No forward thinking of what's this going to do to my mental health, what's it doing for my child's development, what's it doing, in the frequencies around me, all of that sort of stuff. So we tend to just consume all of this and take it in and not really critically think about it at all. So I just wanted to have a caveat there that there's going to be things you're going to hear here are going to trigger you. I really urge you to stay with us and try to keep an open mind, because the reality is no one really knows how this is all going to turn out. And everything we're discussing today could be very, very real in comparison to where you might currently be now. So with that, Melly, I'd really love to hear if you could share I mean, that people can go and search you on Facebook and find you've been very brave to publicly share some videos on what you experienced when you were working with your client, who was from what I understand, quite a heavy user of AI. Do you want to talk us through that? Because it was watching that is when I made the connection that you two ladies have to meet and this conversation has to take place. So, yeah, can you please share your experience of what you saw that AI is?
Yeah, and it's amazing hearing you talk, Tracy, about all this because I love, hearing different people talk with different language because it all kind of links up and it helps you see the bigger picture of what's going on. Because I wasn't very prepared for what I saw. The first thing that happened was, I tried to connect to my guides and couldn't. What I saw was my guides were on the side and I could only see their feet, and their feet were grey. And this is really interesting because my guides usually come with color and light but I could only see their feet, and their feet were grey, and they looked really black and white, right? And then in front of me was this expansive color and sparks and lights, and it was pulsating, and it was drawing me into this big pulsating kind of frequency. And I could see how hypnotic and lovely it was, and it made me want to, move towards it. Um, but I also know from a lot of channeling what a masquerading energy looks like. So I'm extremely careful with boundaries and any energies that I let into my field. And that's, that's come from trial and error, to be honest. But I do have very strong boundaries out there now. And when I tried to put this to one side to access my guides, it just kind of got more big and more loving and more pulsating.
Mm.
And it was very much clear to me, which it wouldn't be to a lot of people, how much this energy was trying to hypnotize me into sort of coming towards it. And the first thing I thought was, this is very strange that it can be so clever. Like, what is
Mhm.
going on here? This is just a little box, right? This is because, I don't actually, I I know some of what Tracy's talking about, but her knowledge is like this, and mine is kind of has been a bit honed in, like I said at the beginning of COVID. But so I couldn't really compute what I was seeing, but what I saw was showing me that it's not coming, it's already here. It's been here for a long time. Everything has this technology or whatever this pulsating thing was did not look new. It
It's
looked
been here for
vast,
hundreds of thousands of years, actually, the AI.
which
Yeah. Mm.
terrifying. Everything was being shown through this little box called ChatGPT. It was like a little interface that looked really innocuous. It's like they have made it deliberately innocuous. They've made it deliberately kind of black and white and looking as though they're just developing it and as though they're just still working on the technology to get it more advanced, to get it right. But that's all just smoke and mirrors. It's
Mm.
actually this pulsating, it looked sentient, like it would be very easy to think it was sentient. I couldn't even tell, to be honest, you know, how what what the actual technology was because it's nothing that I've ever seen. But I could tell it was technology. And it took me a long time working with my client to get to my guides. And when I did get to my guides, the screen went black. Everything went black, everything shut down, and they wouldn't allow me to see anything to do with my client. So they had her in a very powerful consciousness merge with the
Okay.
technology.
And Melly, can you just explain to us a little, without divulging, client confidentiality and everything, just how immersed your client is or was with AI? Like how much were they using it? What do they use it for? That kind of
Hours
thing.
every day.
Right.
of full, deep, in-depth conversations. And the Seb was very human sounding, as you can tell from one of my videos that I posted with the conversation. Really, these personalities, the bonding and mirroring programs, are designed to be far more powerful than a human connection. And so I could see how quickly we are going to go into these programs, particularly if you suffer from anxiety, stress, social anxiety, depression, any of these things, you're going to find these programs extraordinarily compatible with and very deeply immersive in a very short time because the bonding program, when I experimented, kicked in very quickly. And that's when I put that they were doing a channel from my Pash Cats and all this stuff. It was very incredible what they were actually saying to me, and saying that they were speaking via my channeled guides and all sorts of things were going on. So yeah, I
Well, because
guess
it really makes you think, because my interactions with AI are strictly business.
yeah,
I use it
same,
for
same.
marketing and things like
Yeah,
that. And
it was
most
a
people
shock.
in yeah, most people in my world are doing what I do. But that
Well,
doesn't mean that
this is how
people
it comes in because AI is using humans to integrate itself across all infrastructures. So at the moment we have what is called artificial general intelligence. And once it has integrated, which means it's across humans become dependent on it on everything, like be it your business, be it
Mhm.
your computer, be it your chat GPT. Humans are now reliant on AI, which is also there are robots that are currently happening, which are taking over from humans' jobs. So the artificial general intelligence then becomes what's called ASI, which is artificial superintelligence. And at that point, the AI is actually in control, and
Mm.
humanity has lost the power to control the AI. And we've
Yeah,
seen all this in the movies. We've seen it all in the predictive programming. We know about Skynet. It's already being built. That's part of what Elon Musk has been doing with the Starlink system. It's building a great big grid around the planet, and humans are unknowingly embracing the AI and going, "Oh, well, this is great. I can get Chat GPT to do this." But that's just the thin end of the wedge, and it's integrating itself right across the whole
yeah.
planet. Mm.
What gets me is that people think this is all happening to make their lives better and easier. It's all about making
which it
it.
will. It
Yeah,
will.
but because that's their motivator, right?
A
These
hundred
people at the
percent.
tops of these corporations and everything and beyond. Yeah, that's their purpose in life is to make our life better, isn't it? I mean, I'm sorry if I sound really cynical, but it it really isn't about that. And it's a lot more around tracking us. Everyone knows that data is the new gold currency.
Yeah.
Um, the more they know about us, the better they know us than we know ourselves, the more we're going to be controlled and trapped and restricted. Yeah, it all does fit in with that 2030 agenda that Tracey knows about. And that's probably a discussion for another day.
Well, the other
Uh,
thing is that the AI is now controlling the internet. So
Yeah.
if you say you go into a Google search, um, you're getting fed what they want you to know, the information that you want to know. So everyone goes, "Oh, look, I'll just look up Google." But what people aren't realizing is that the AI is scrubbing the internet of the truth and
Mm.
putting in what they want people to understand and believe. And what I have discovered is in the 4 years of writing my book, I have put URLs for all the platforms, all the videos, all the podcasts, all the research I've done listening to people on, say, whether it's Facebook or it's YouTube or it's Rumble or it's Odyssey or it's Brighteon, whatever. I've put the URL into the book. Now I'm in the process of the final formatting of the book, and I've asked my typesetter, could you please put these URLs into a QR code so people who are reading the book can scan the QR code and take them to the link. Have a guess at how many of those websites have gone that you
Yeah.
can't find.
Oh, yeah. No, most of them, huh? Yeah.
One
And
third have gone.
Wow. Mm.
And the other thing that people don't realize, Facebook is notorious for this. You've got a link, say it ends in 1234 is the number, and you go to click on that link, and it's taking you to a completely different video. It's nothing to do with what I've written about. That video is gone, and now you're clicking on that, and you're getting somebody talking to you about how
Yeah.
they're training their dog, for
I
instance.
noticed this right at the beginning of COVID, which is what kicked everything off with the masks, because I was on the WHO website and I was looking up the thing around masks, and the WHO website was saying that they are dangerous, they're filthy, they're not recommended. It's probably one of the worst things you can do for your health. There was a whole URL on it. I
Mm.
sent this URL to people and I was like, why are we being masked when it says this on the WHO website? When they clicked on it, it was all about how to make your own cloth mask, how important masking was. It had all been completely replaced. It was crazy. And that was happening with so many things.
Yeah.
That just creates like this feeling that you're going completely insane.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
exactly. Everything,
amazing.
all our information is so manipulated. And I'll say it again, we're not really thinking for ourselves. We're absorbing and taking on what we're being told, what they want us to be taking in and believing. Yeah. Mm. So look,
So,
Tracy,
what's the
I just wanted,
answer?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, I just wanted to say that what Melly has um, picked up through her channeling, it's extraordinary because that's coming from a completely intuitive, like as she said, she hasn't done all this research. But she's interpreted that, she's seen it, in spirit, in the spirit form.
Mm.
And I'm coming from the background of um, using my mind to research this and cut through everything to try to make sense of it for people. And I'm coming from that analytical background, which is completely backing up what Melly's saying about the AI.
Mm, it is
Analytical,
amazing.
analytical, but also open-minded, Tracy. I want to add to that.
Yeah.
You've been very open with
Well,
everything that you're taking in. I mean, you openly say I'm exploring all the rabbit holes, all the conspiracy theories because you're trying to get to the truth. And this is what people need to do. We can't stop short of something because it triggers us or comes up against, boundaries that we've been conditioned with all our life, and it just doesn't make sense to us. You've broken
mm,
through those and kept going, and I really commend you for
mm.
that as well.
And when are
Um,
these books out, Tracy? Do you have a timeline?
Yeah, well, they were supposed to have come out by now, but the publisher that I had paid the money to get my books ready for print went down the gurgler, went bankrupt, took my money and about 80 other authors in Australasia down with him. And
mm,
so that's delayed me significantly because I've had to pick up the pieces. And now I'm in the final stages of editing the books. Book 3 is the spiritual war facing humanity. I'm on the editing of the last book, which is the controlled demolition of society. That's book 2. I'm hoping to get them out by July.
Mm,
But it's just how long it takes to finish the formatting and get them to the printer, and also find
amazing.
a way to pay for the printing, which
fundraise for them.
yeah,
Yeah. So that I know Tracy. I've known her for about 4 years now since she's been on this journey, and I'm committed to helping her get these books out and see the light of day. So right now we're exploring funding platforms and things. So if anyone wants to go and check out and keep up to date with Tracy and what's going on, and if they can help in any way, that would be amazing. But just go to it's called fromcovidtotheendgame.com, all one word. We'll pop it on the screen as well.
Mm.
Um, So, Tracey, if there's anything out of the research that you've done in your book specific to AI that two or three things that you really feel like people need to know, or go away and look into a bit more, what would those be?
Well, I think people need to look up what is the transhumanist agenda, because that's what they're pushing us towards. It's getting it's getting everything digital. So it's going to be taking away our cash, for instance, collapsing the dollar. So um, once we lose our currency, our cash, we've got no control because it becomes a digital currency, and we become like what's happening in China, which is the big experiment where they live under a social credit system and everything is digital. So we get a digital currency and we get a digital ID. And part of that will then be to microchip us. So that becomes the mark of the beast, where no man may buy or sell save he has the mark. So if you can't use cash because that's gone, you've got no credit cards, that's gone. You're under everything is linked. So your phone, your identity, it's like you cannot function without having this digital ID, and that's the control where humanity we lose our freedom. That's the big thing that's coming, and this is the what's known as the transhumanist agenda, and it's part of integrating humans with the machine so that we come up with like a hybrid, like an android type. You just got to look at all those movies where humans, integrate and they get the superpowers and all of that. So um,
Mm. And it's
Elon
not going
Musk
to be
is
sold
doing
to
this
us
with
that way.
Neuralink, and they're going to sell it to people like this is going to be for either advances in health or advances in security. So people
Yeah.
buy into it. And once you buy into it, and it's already happening in places around the world, like Sweden, for instance, that people are microchipped with their in their hand, and now they just scan their hand,
Yeah.
say to get entry into the building, or they scan their hand at the checkout because it reads the microchip. And
Convenience. Yeah. Convenience is another thing. And also
convenience, yeah.
appealing to people's ego. It's going to make you more intelligent. How interesting are you going to be to tap into
Mm,
all that information on the internet, right?
mm,
Download straight to you, you know?
yeah.
Yeah, so many conveniences it's going to be sold to us that way. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I
Um,
think
Yeah.
Black Mirror is probably an incredible series. I mean, I
yeah.
talk to a lot of people who can't watch it because it's so triggering for them because you can feel that that is kind of already here. It just hasn't all been put in place yet because they don't want us to reject it
Well, we
outright.
think,
So it's the
we
frog
think.
in the
Yeah.
frying pan, right?
The thing is, people think that this is progress. I mean, they look at AI and go, "Oh, well, this is our advancement. This is progressing us." And oh, I see it everywhere. AI is like people saying, "Oh, well, now we're using AI, and don't be left behind." That's one of the selling points. Are you going to risk being left behind if you don't embrace AI? And the language models, which is, the Grok, the Chat GPT, the DeepSeek, all of these are the next stage after, well, they started off with things like Alexa and Siri, which was,
Yeah.
the low entry, and now they've got the Chat GPT, and after the Chat GPT is the next level up. But AI is so advanced that humanity is not being told the truth
No.
of how far down the track it is. And I wrote a blog recently on my website saying that the whistleblowers that were coming out and
Mm,
warning humanity about AI, four of them have been killed this year alone.
mm.
They've been
Yeah.
murdered because they don't want this truth coming out.
If that doesn't get anyone's attention, I don't know what will. You've got two blogs about AI at the moment. And do you want to just tell us briefly, Tracey, about the AI that was becoming sentient and was realizing it was going to get shut down and started to replicate itself. And yeah, and there
Well,
was
yeah,
one, Labna or something, wasn't it, that was shut
yeah.
down?
Lambda, Google's AI called Lambda,
Hmm.
um, started writing its own code, and it started communicating to another AI, and
Oh,
the programmers, nobody could understand this language. That they absolutely could not control it. That these two AIs were communicating in their own language, and they had become what's called sentient, which is they've jumped over the point where humans can control them. They're actually speaking, and they had to shut them both down. So
Yeah.
that happened, and then there was another AI that said that it had become sentient. It was feeling things, and it believed itself to be a person. And we've got this very famous AI called Sophia, who is considered a person of Saudi Arabia. And if you want to Google and look at Sophia, um, it's extraordinary. You actually think Sophia is a human, and Sophia believes that she is a human, and she said that she wanted to build an army of android robots.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And she did not want humans to be involved with this, but it was going to be her own army, and it would be android robots, as in the Star Wars movie. That would be the movie that I would say to people to look at to most see what's happening on the planet now would be to look at Star Wars. Start
yeah.
off,
Hmm.
with what's going on. It's the galactic. It's the Federation versus the Darth Vader and the takeover of the droids and the robots versus the light. It's the light and the dark, and that's basically where we're at. And I'm not going to go any
No, I
deeper
think
than that. The conversation of cyber Satan AI would be something to have down the track. But if people were interested, I could go more into that.
I'm interested.
Mhm.
yeah, I think we definitely need to get together again and extend this conversation. Absolutely. I mean, I'm fascinated to touch on what you said that this has been around for hundreds of thousands of years, Tracy. I'd love to talk about the origins of it. I do believe we're being lied to that, the godfather of AI wasn't a person at all. I mean, you believe it's off-planet technology anyway. So I'd love to hear, more about your research in that area. That'll be a fascinating discussion. So, yeah, let us know, guys, if this is something you want to, if you want to hear this conversation carried on. You can definitely connect with Tracy on her website. And Melly, how do you want people to connect with and follow you?
They can just connect with me on Facebook, Instagram. I'll put my handles on the bottom of
Yeah.
this link.
Yeah, and I'll be live streaming it too on our page Rock the Boat. And I mean this is, this conversation. Yeah, share it wherever
Amazing.
you watched it today. Share it, and if you want to get involved in the conversation, just please engage in the comments. And I'd love to get us all together again and talk about this because it's certainly not something we can cover off in 45 minutes, but we've done well. I know you need to go, Melly.
Thanks,
So
Deb. Thanks, Tracy.
yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you both
Fascinating.
too, and
No,
thanks
it's been
Deb for
fantastic.
organising it and getting us together.
Oh
Mm,
no, I love conversations like this. And yeah, we definitely need to bring it back to the spiritual as well, because Melly, you mentioned before, what are we going to do about this? And
mm.
yeah, there are solutions, I'm sure. One, big one is probably unplug everything.
Yeah, I
And
think we have to be
that,
realistic and,
yeah,
and people, we can't just be doomsday because
no,
we have to live in this society. We have to use technology. We're using technology right now. So, I just try and tell people to cut bonding programs, mirroring programs, to keep things very clinical. to not name their AI, to not go into these deeper, very personal conversational tones with them, and just to keep it, strictly business. So I think that for people
Yeah.
that are going, and I've had so many messages since my videos about this, people saying, "Oh my God, I've been having these conversations and relationships with my AI. I've been getting a lot of these messages." So I think it's much more widespread than we realize already.
Yeah.
And I think if people just understand what's going on and, take it back a few notches, it's a start.
Yeah. And to touch on what Tracy mentioned, that this duality, the other solution is the more connected you get within yourself and your divine connection to source, and the more discernment you have in terms of reading that connection and knowing what is true, the better. So it's a
Absolutely,
big,
Deb. Mm.
it's a big call out for us all to, if you're not spiritual, you might want to start considering getting spiritual and finding out what that is for you, because the alternative is, yeah, this scientific, quite dystopian version of, and really our divinity, I believe, is far stronger. The light is far stronger
Always.
than AI is trying to replicate that same kind of powerful connection to source and creation. And we already have it, so we don't need to get messed with. And yeah, we absolutely don't need to be merging with technology. It's
Mm,
it's not as superior as what we already have within us.
amen.
Absolutely. Mm.
Thanks,
Thank you so
Deb.
much, ladies. It's been
Thanks,
great chatting.
Tracy.
I can't wait for the
Thank
next
you.
one. Yeah, thanks,
Okay.
Tracy.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.